Bhakta-vrinda. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5. We're going to begin chapter 6 today. Text 1. Rajovacha
Rajovacha
Nanunam Bhagava Atmaranam Yoga Sammirita Jnana Vabharjita.
Nanunam Bhagava Atma Ramanam Yoga Samir Rita Jnana Babharjita
Karma Pijanam Aishwaryani Punakleshadani Bhavitum Arhante.
Karma Bejanam Aishwaryani Puna Kleshadani Bhavitum Arhanti
Yadrichayopakatani.
Yadrich Chayo Pagatani.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Parikshit asked Sukadev Goswami, My dear Lord, for those who are completely pure in heart, knowledge is attained by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, and attachment for fruitive activity is completely burned to ashes. For such people, the powers of mystic yoga automatically arise. They do not cause distress. Why then did Ṛṣabhadeva neglect them? So we were hearing yesterday that Lord Ṛṣabhadeva had all these mystic powers, but he was not using them. A pure devotee is constantly engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever is necessary for the discharge of devotional service is automatically attained, though it may appear to be the result of mystic yoga power. Sometimes a yogi displays a little yogic power by manufacturing gold. A little quantity of gold captivates foolish people, and thus the yogi gets many followers who are willing to accept such a tiny person as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a yogi may also advertise himself as Bhagwan. However, a devotee does not have to exhibit such magical wonders. Without practicing the mystic yogic process, he achieves even greater opulence all over the world. So Sukadev Goswami is, of course, asking this question, and Prabhupada is beginning the purport. He's saying the pure devotee, his only intention is how can I please Krishna? How can I serve God? And whatever he needs for the service is supplied to him by Krishna. Krishna is saying that he protects the devotee. He makes available whatever is needed by the devotee. So Prabhupada is saying it may appear as mystic yoga, but a devotee is not concerned anything with mystic yoga. Sometimes we get carried away, Someone may show us some mystic powers and we may think he's God, but no, God is God. Although there are many people who have mystic siddhis, they can, the 8 types of siddhis, becoming so tiny, becoming very big, or they can travel in space immediately from one place to another, or get something from very far away. Prapti siddhi is called, get something from very far away. When Prabhupada was there, one magician had come to meet him. That time pomegranates was not so much in India. And then that magician from he from the air like that, he gave a pomegranate. He said he got it from Afghanistan. So magicians have that kind of power, but doesn't make them God. So a pure devotee, he is opulent. We are hearing about the pure devotees, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, They were there millions and millions of years ago. Till today, we are glorifying them. Like how Prahlad Maharaj, the snakes could not bite him, the tridents would not hurt him. It's like almost mysticism, right? But he was under the protection of Krishna. So under the circumstances, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva refused to manifest mystic yogic perfections. And Maharaj Parikshit asked why he did not accept them, since for a devotee, they are not at all disturbing. A devotee is never distressed or satisfied by material opulence. His concern is how to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee achieves extraordinary opulence, he utilizes the opportunity for the Lord's service. He is not disturbed by the opulence. So even if a devotee gets any opulence, he uses it for satisfaction of Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna, to please Krishna, for the service of Krishna. That's the only intention of the pure devotee. That everything he has, he uses it for service of Krishna because he understands that everything belongs to Krishna. Rishiruvacha
Ṛṣi
Satyam Uktam Kintva Ihava Eke Na Manaso Dha Vishrambham.
Satyam Uktam Kintiv Iha Va Eke Na Manaso Da Vishrambam
Anavasthanasya Shatakirata Iva Sangachante.
Anavasthanasya Shatakirata Iva Sangachante.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami replied, My dear king, you have spoken correctly. However, after capturing animals, a cunning hunter does not put faith in them, for they might run away. Similarly, those who are advanced in spiritual life do not put faith in the mind. Indeed, they always remain vigilant and watch the mind's action. In Bhagavad Gita 18.5, Lord Krishna says, Yajna dana tapa karma na tyajyam karyam eva tat yajyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. So, sacrifice, charity, and penance, Krishna is saying they should be performed. And all of them should be performed in relation to Krishna. Sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. Charity, giving charity for Krishna conscious activities to the devotees who are engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness. Penance, observing fasting on appearance days of Lord Krishna like Janmashtami, Gaur Purnima, Ekadashi. Sacrifice, chanting of the holy name, the Sankirtan Yajna. Even one who has renounced the world and has taken sannyas should not renounce chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Renunciation does not mean that one has to renounce Sankirtan Yajna. Similarly, one should not renounce charity or tapasya. So Prabhupada is saying one renounces the world means he's become a sannyasi, but you cannot say, oh, because I've renounced, I'm going to renounce chanting the holy name. No. In fact, have to chant more and more. When one renounces the world, then he needs to chant more. Similarly, one should not renounce charity or tapasya. The yoga system for control of the mind and senses must be strictly followed. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva showed how severe types of tapasya could be performed, and he set an example for all others. So charity and tapasya, they're helping to control the mind and senses, and so they should be performed. Charity, the highest charity, giving the Hare Krishna mantra to others, giving the holy name to others. That's the highest charity that we can do. Tatha choktam
Tatha choktam
na kuryat karhichit sakyam
न कुर्यात्
nakuryat
कर्हिचित्
karhichit
सख्यम्
satyam
manasi hi anavasthite
मनसि
Sihi
यवनस्थिते
anasthite
yat vishrambhat chirak chirnam
yat
यद्विश्रम्भात्
vishrambhat chirah
चिराचीर्णम्
chirnam
chaskanda tapa eshwaram.
jaskanda
चकस्कन्दं
tapa
तप
eshwaram.
ईश्वरम्.
All the learned scholars have given their opinion. The mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If we place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of Lord Krishna, and Saubhari Muni also fell down from the mature stage of yogic perfection. So the mind. The first business of one trying to advance in spiritual life is to control the mind and senses. As Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamaevam sa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Although the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and are therefore in a transcendental position, they are still suffering in this material world and struggling for existence due to the mind and the senses. So in this verse 15.7, Krishna is saying, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke, that the conditioned soul, they are in the body right now, but they are my part and parcel, eternally. Jiva Bhuta, Sanatana, Sanatana. They are eternally my part and parcel. So we can see, that we can never become one with God. We are eternally parts and parcels of God. This is the Sambandha. Krishna is showing us, giving us the Sambandha Gyan here. And because we are part and parcel of God, God is transcendental. He is Satchidananda. We are also Satchidananda. Of course, He is supremely Satchidananda and we are parts, tiny. We are part and parcel, tiny, minute. So now we are suffering here in the material world, Karshati, the hard struggle for existence. We are trying to be controllers. So what is that for? Because of our mind and senses. So to get out of this false struggle for existence and become happy in the material world, one has to control the mind and senses and be detached from material conditions. One should never neglect austerities and penances, and one should always perform them. So control of mind and senses is not bhakti, but it's like a doorway getting into bhakti. It's the beginning. Like even yogic process is to control mind and senses. So, we are seeing that all the processes, they tell us first control the mind and senses. So, but it's very difficult. That's the reason we are being told again and again. It's very difficult. So how to detach the mind and senses from the material world? We have to give it better engagement. Like Prabhupada would give an example of a child. A child is being naughty and creating so much disturbance. Give him something nice toy to play with. So he'll calm down. He'll get busy. Like that. So give the mind and senses transcendental occupation. Keep it busy with bhakti yoga, activities of devotional service. One should never neglect austerities and penances. One should always perform them. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva personally showed us how to do this. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 9, Text 17, it is specifically stated, Matra swasra duhitrava nevi vikta sano bhavet balavan indriya gramo vidvamsam api karshate. A grihast, vanaprast, sannyasi, and brahmachari should be very careful when associating with women. One is forbidden to sit down in a solitary place, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter. In our Krishna consciousness movement, it has been very difficult to disassociate ourselves from women in our society, especially in Western countries. We are therefore sometimes criticized. But nonetheless, we are trying to give everyone a chance to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and thus advance spiritually. If we stick to the principle of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, then by the grace of Srila Haridas Thakur, we may be saved from the allurement of women. However, if we are not very strict in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we may at any time fall victim to women. So for the man, it's the woman. For the woman, it's the man. Like Lord Chaitanya would not even let the woman come near him. But Srila Prabhupada, he was giving initiation to women. He was letting women do deity worship, allow, like everything open, because time, place, and circumstance. What Acharya does. Earlier in Vedic times, the woman would automatically get liberated because the husband would be a pure devotee, and then, by serving him, she would get liberated. But now it's different. Times are changed. And, Prabhupada saw in the Western countries that men and women, they closely associate with each other. It's not possible to separate. So he's like, what doesn't matter, you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. We are all spirit souls. Everyone chant Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?
All good.
Oh, thank you. So, Nityam dadati kamasya
Nityam dadati kamasya
Shidram tam anuyeraya
Chitram tam
tam
anuyeraya
anuyeraya
Yogina krita maitrasya
yogina
yogina krita
kritamatrasya
maitrasya
Patyurjayeva pumshchale.
patyurjayeva
patyurjayeva
pumshale.
pumshali.
An unchaste woman is very easily carried away by paramours, and it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will doubtlessly kill the yogi. In this verse, the word pumschali refers to a woman who is easily carried away by men. Such a woman is never to be trusted. Unfortunately, in the present age, women are never controlled. According to the directions of the Shastras, women are never to be given freedom. When a child, a woman must be strictly controlled by her father. When she is young, she must be strictly controlled by her husband. And when she is old, she must be controlled by her elderly sons. If she is given independence and allowed to mingle unrestrictedly with men, she will be spoiled. A spoiled woman being manipulated by paramours might even kill her husband. So what happens is, because women are very emotional, and unscrupulous men may take advantage of her. And we see it happens nowadays many times. So the men take advantage of the woman. That's why she was always meant to be protected, given full emotional support, full, like complete protection emotionally, financially, physically, because otherwise men take advantage. And this is what Arjuna was saying, that, oh, when the elders of the family will be killed, traditions will be lost, then women will be taken advantage of, and then there will be Varna Shankara, the unwanted children. So this example is given here because a yogi desiring to get free from material conditions must always keep his mind under control. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that in the morning, our first business should be to beat the mind with shoes 100 times. And before going to bed, to beat the mind 100 times with a broomstick. In this way, one's mind can be kept under control. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of our Srila Prabhupada, this is what he would say, because the mind is so uncontrollable. He would say, beat it in the morning 100 times, and in the morning with shoes, in the night with a broomstick. Beat the mind. We don't want to hear and chant. No, we have to do it. So an uncontrolled mind and an unchaste wife are the same. An unchaste wife can kill her husband at any time, and an uncontrolled mind, followed by lust, anger, greed, madness, envy, and illusion, can certainly kill the yogi. Because, the yogi will get carried away by his own lust. For example, Hiranyakashipu. Yeah, he was a yogi. He did great austerities. But then he got carried away by his anger, lust, greed, madness, envy, and illusion. When the yogi is controlled by the mind, he falls down into the material condition. One should be very careful of the mind, just as a husband should be careful of an unchaste wife. Going on. Any comments? No. Kamo manyur madolobha.
Kamo manyurmadolobha.
Shoka moha bhayadaya.
Shukamohabhayadayah.
Karma bandhascha yanmula.
Karmabandhascha yanmula.
Moolam.
Vikuryat kono tad buddha.
Svikuryato no tat buddhaha.
The mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. What learned man would put faith in the mind? The mind is the original cause of material bondage. It is followed by many enemies, such as anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. So these are our enemies, We think that they might be good things, but actually it's our enemies. Anger, pride. Krishna says anger is like a gateway to hell, right? Anger, and get free from anger, attachment, and fear also, he says, get free from these things. Pride, we may say, oh, I'm so proud, but lamentation, illusion, fear, this is what's all keeping us here in the material world. The best way to control the mind is to engage it always in Krishna consciousness. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo. Since the followers of the mind bring about material bondage, we should be very careful not to trust the mind. Not to trust the mind. So it's so difficult, because we are so used to listening to the mind. We have given full control of ourselves to the mind since millions and millions of births. And now we don't know how to take that control back. Of course, the solution is given to us that engage in Krishna consciousness, fix the mind on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. That's the best way to control the mind. We may try some other attempts of mind control. There are many other techniques which we may learn to control the mind. But the permanent way because those techniques may work for some time, but under other circumstances, they may not work. But a permanent solution of how to control the mind is to fix it at the lotus feet of Krishna, which is not easy. But we have to try. You have to try to do it. 6.6 Athaivam akhila lokapala lalamopi vilakshanirdjadvad
अथैवम् अखिललोकपालललामोऽपि विलक्ष्य
avadhuta vesha bhasha chariter avilakshita bhagavad prabhavo
अवधूतवेषभासा चरिते अविलक्षित भगवत्प्रभावो
yoginam samparaya vidim anushikshyan svakalevaram jihasu
योगिनां साम्पराय विधिम् अनुशिक्षय स्वकलेवरं जिहासु
atmani atmanam asam vyavahitam anarthanantara
आत्मनि आत्मानम् असंव्यवहितम् अनर्थान्तर
avena vikshamana uparathanuvritir upararama
भावेनावीक्ष मान उपरतानुवृत्तिर उपरराम.
Lord Ṛṣabhadeva was the head of all kings and emperors within this universe. But assuming the dress and language of an avadut, he acted as if dull and materially bound. Consequently, no one could observe his divine opulence. He adopted this behavior just to teach yogis how to give up the body. Nonetheless, he maintained his original position as a plenary expansion of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Remaining always in that state, he gave up his pastimes as Lord Ṛṣabhadeva within the material world. If, following in the footsteps of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, one can give up his subtle body, there is no chance that one will accept a material body again. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Krishna is saying, understand that my appearance and activities are transcendental, not material. Krishna's leelas are not just some stories, some fiction, or some history. No, they are transcendental, they are eternal, they are spiritual. And Krishna is
Hare
saying, know
Krishna.
this and you will get liberated. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, I didn't understand the part that Lord Ṛṣabhadeva gave up his subtle body. How is that possible?
No, if following in the footsteps of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, one can give up his subtle body. It's saying if we follow his instructions and if we can give up our subtle body, then there is no chance that we will take up another material body. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, he is completely transcendental.
Yes.
See, we'll
But the
read it
subtle,
again.
what is subtle body? Subtle body
Mind
is
intelligence.
intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And spirit.
Mind, intelligence, and false ego.
False ego. Okay.
So, what Sukadev Goswami is saying is if one follows Lord Ṛṣabhadev's instructions and if one is able to give up his material mind, intelligence, and false ego, then no way is he coming back to the material world again. Is that okay?
Because like when we leave this world, the mind also goes with you. Isn't it? This is what I...
So when we die,
Yeah.
the gross body, we leave it, right? But the
Yes, but
subtle body continues. Mind,
continuous,
intelligence, false ego. It continues. So till the time we have this subtle body, till that time we have to take another gross body. till the time our subtle body is material, our mind is material, intelligence is material, false ego is there, we will keep on taking material body. So liberation means getting free not only of the gross body, but also the subtle body. That is liberation.
How
So,
does one give up the subtle body?
so how we can give up the subtle body? We have to purify the mind and intelligence and come back to our real ego, that I'm eternal servant of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna. So that's why the mind, we have to spiritualize our mind, fix the mind on lotus feet of Krishna, purify the intelligence by hearing from the scriptures, engaging in devotional service.
So when you engage in devotion, that means that you are giving up the subtle body.
Yeah, so what's happening is our subtle body is being purified. You see, we heard, we heard in the story of Puranjan that as our subtle body is creating our next body, our next
Right.
gross body. So whatever we are thinking of is creating our next body. Like in the English also we have the saying, thoughts turn into what?
Yeah.
Our thoughts turn into words, words turn into action, action turn into destiny.
Yeah,
So
so you're
means thoughts are
purifying it.
turning.
It's not that you're
Yeah.
giving up, correct?
So we have to be free from this material mind, material intelligence, and we have to give up this false ego.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is
Got it.
liberation.
Okay, so that is what they meant. I mean, he means that
Yeah,
giving up subtle body. Okay.
subtle
Got
body. Because the soul, there is no separate mind, intelligence, false ego. You know, like how right now, for the soul is Sachidananda, right? It has no
Yes.
separate mind, no separate intelligence. Is Sachidananda, is consciousness by itself. This we are having all these artificial coverings on us. So this is what we have to give up, and that is liberation.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. So then this is possible simply by keeping oneself an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. One must understand his constitutional position and the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord as well. So our false ego is, I'm separate from God. But our true ego, if we are saying false ego, means there has to be a true ego. So our real position, if we can understand, or we just keep reminding ourselves that I'm eternal servant of God. That is our constitutional position. And then working in that spirit. So both have the same spiritual identity. Both God and individual soul, both have same spiritual identity. Maintaining oneself as a servant of the Supreme Lord, one should avoid rebirth in this material world. So this is what giving up of false ego. False ego, we are thinking we are God, or we can become God. But real ego, to understand, oh, I am part and parcel of God. I'm servant of God. If one keeps himself spiritually fit and thinks of himself as an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, he will be successful at the time he has to give up the material body. So, this is what. That's our constitutional position. Jivara Swarubhai Krishna Nityadas. That the position of every soul is that we are servant of Lord Krishna. So if we can remember this, understand this, we need to understand this. So the more we hear, the more we chant, the more we will be able to understand it. Tasya hava evam muktalingasya bhagavata Ṛṣabhasya yoga.
तस्य वा एव मुक्तलिङ्गस्य भगवत् ऋषभस्य योगा
Maya vasanaya deha imam jagatim abhimanabhasena.
माया वासनया देह इमां जगतिम् अभिमानाभासेन
Sankrama mana konka venka kutakan dakshina karnatakan deshan.
संक्रममान कोंकवेंक कुतकान् दक्षिण कर्णाटकान् देशान्
Yadra chayopagataha kutaka chalopavana asya kritashma kavala.
यदृच्छयोपगत कुतकाचलोपवन आस्य कृतास्म कवल
Unmada iva mukta murdajo samvita eva vichachara.
उन्माद इव मूर्धजो संवित एव विचचार
Actually, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva had no material body, but due to Yoga Maya, he considered his body material. And therefore, because he played like an ordinary human being, he gave up the mentality of identifying with it. Following this principle, he began to wander all over the world. While traveling, he came to the province of Karnataka in South India and passed through Konka, Venka, and Kutaka. He had no plan to travel this way, but he arrived near Kutaka Chala and entered a forest there. He placed stones within his mouth and began to wander through the forest naked and with his hair disabled like a madman. So, of course, his body is transcendental. He is an incarnation of God. He does not have a material body, but he's playing the part of a human being. So he's giving up the identification of the body and he's wandering around India, South India, as a avadut, as an avadut. Atha samira vega vidhuta venu vikarshana ja togra dava nalastad.
अथा समीर वेग विदूत वेणु विकर्षण जातोग्र दावानलस्तत्
Vanam alelihana sahatena dadaha.
वनम् आलेलिहान सह तेन ददाह
While he was wandering about, a wild forest fire began. This fire was caused by the friction of bamboos, which were being blown by the wind. In that fire, the entire forest near Kottakachal and the body of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva were burnt to ashes. Such a forest fire can burn the external bodies of animals, but Lord Ṛṣabhadeva was not burnt, although he apparently seemed so. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is the super soul of all living entities within the forest, and his soul is never burnt by fire. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Adhayo, Adhayo Yam, the soul is never burnt by fire. Due to Lord Ṛṣabhadev's presence, all the animals in the forest were also liberated from material engagement. So this is a pastime of his disappearance. His body can never be burnt. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. He's the super soul, Srila Prabhupada is putting, because he's the super soul of all living entities, and all the animals who got burnt in the fire, they also got liberated. So the soul can never be burnt. The soul lives on. Yasya kila no charitam upakarnya konka venka kutakanam.
यस्य किलानुचरितम् उपाकर्ण्य कोङ्कवेङ्क कुटकानाम्
Rajarhan namopashikshya kalav adharma utkrishyamane.
Rajaranamo Vashikshya Kalav Adharma Utakrishyamane
Bhavitavyena vimohita swadharma patam akuto bhayam.
Bhavitavyena Vimohita Swadharma Patham Akutabhayam
Apahaya kupatha pakhandam asam manchasam nijamanishaya.
Apahaya Kupatha Pathapakandam Asamman Manjasam Nijamanishaya
Manda sampravartayishyate.
Manda Sampravartashyate.
Sukadev Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, my dear king, the king of Konka, Venka and Kotaka, whose name was Arhat, heard of the activities of Ṛṣabhadeva and imitating Ṛṣabhadev's principles, introduced a new system of religion. Taking advantage of Kali Yuga, the age of sinful activity, King Arhat, being bewildered, gave up the Vedic principles, which are free from risk, and concocted a new system of religion opposed to the Vedas. That was the beginning of the Jain Dharma. Many other so-called religions followed this atheistic system. When Lord Sri Krishna was present on this planet, a person named Vandraka imitated the four-handed Narayan and declared himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He desired to compete with Krishna. So, Vandraka, he even put four arms, he put imitation hands to show that he is Lord Vishnu. Of course, he was killed by Krishna. So, similarly, during the time of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, the king of Konka and Venka acted like a Paramhams and imitated Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. He introduced a system of religion and took advantage of the fallen condition of the people in this age of Kali. It is said in Vedic literatures that people in this age will be more inclined to accept anyone as a supreme lord and accept any religious system opposed to Vedic principles. The people in this age are described as Manda Sumanda Mataya. Generally, they have no spiritual culture and therefore they are very fallen. Due to this, they will accept any religious system. Due to their misfortune, they forget the Vedic principles. Following non-Vedic principles in this age, they think themselves the Supreme Lord and thus spread the cult of atheism all over the world. So Sukadev Goswami is saying this is how the Jain religion began, because a king Arhat, he began imitating Lord Ṛṣabhadeva and he introduced this new system of religion which is going against the Vedas, and that's why he's calling it atheistic. Any system which denies the authority of the Vedas, which goes against the Vedic principles, is atheistic.
So you mean a Jain Dharma is against the Vedas?
Yeah, this is what Sukadev Goswami is saying. Sukadev Goswami is saying that he's saying he concocted a new system of religion opposed to the Vedas. I personally have never looked into it, but Sukadev Goswami is saying this here.
Hare Krishna. So their focus is only being free from material bondage. What Ṛṣabhadeva set some principles of religion, something we read now, right? So their main goal is to be free from material bondage.
Whose?
Jains, ones who follow King Arhat.
So we have to understand here Sukadev Goswami is saying that King Arhat, he imitated Lord Ṛṣabhadeva.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done that. And he created a new religious system by himself, which he shouldn't have done. And people started following him. And that has become the Jain religion, and which is against the Vedas. This is what Sukadeva Goswami is saying.
Right.
I don't know anything about Jainism.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know anything either. So, but Sukadeva Goswami is an authority for us. And so we are hearing it from him. That it's against, because any system which goes against the Vedas is concocted. Religion has to follow Vedic principles.
But even in
Has to follow.
Buddhism, it was right when
Yeah.
Buddha came.
Yes, and that's the reason the Vaishnavas, they accept Lord Buddha as incarnation of Krishna, but they don't follow his teachings. Because that's voidism. Voidism is covered atheism, not not believing in the existence of God or spiritual. Actually, Lord Buddha never spoke anything about the soul. You know, he never spoke about these things.
And as you say, in a time, place.
Time, place, and circumstance. It was like Lord Buddha, the emergency situation was there that he had to stop the animal
Because
killing.
there was too much of slaughter. Yeah.
Yeah, so they will not be able to accept more than that. So he said, just stop the killing. And that's why then Shankaracharya came. And
Also
his
came.
service was to bring the faith of the people back in the Vedas. That was his service. You know? And then once he brought the faith back, because Lord Chaitanya is going to come, and then he's going to teach us that not that we are God, but we are part and parcel of God. So that's how the progression
Like Sri
is.
Shankaracharya, he was again on impersonalism, right?
Yeah.
He said that God
Yes.
is personal.
Yeah. That was the service that was given to him. He is an incarnation of Lord Shiva. And that service was given to him by Krishna, that he has to do this. And he says to Parvati that I will come in this age of Kali. I will be born as a Brahmana and I will mislead the people with atheistic philosophy. So this is what it is. So for us to understand that anything against the Vedic principles is atheism. So we need to understand the Vedic principles. The Vedic principles are clearly laid down by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Gita-Upanishad. Bhagavad Gita is called Gita-Upanishad. It's the essence of all the Upanishads. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream of the essence of all the Vedas. So by studying properly Bhagavad Gita, by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we will understand what is real religion, what are the Vedic principles. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So following, understanding the principles and then applying those principles in our life. Krishna, his instruction is surrender unto me, give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me, he says in Bhagavad Gita. He's demanding us surrender. He's saying, Mamaivam Sajiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that we are part and parcel. We are his part and parcels eternally. We are eternal. We are spirit souls. He's saying in the second chapter, the soul never dies, is eternal, cannot be cut to pieces. So it's not that Krishna is like a big paper and we were cut out from that big paper and made into tiny souls. No, soul can never be cut to pieces. And Krishna is supreme conscious being. Paper is dead matter. We cannot compare something, some dead matter to a supreme conscious being. So that's the reason it's so important for us to study Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Yeah. So we'll stop here for today. Did you all have any more comments? Questions? So here what is being said is that King Arhat, he misinterpreted and misrepresented Lord Ṛṣabhadeva and his teachings. He's not giving the teachings of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva as they are, but he has misinterpreted them. Yeah, is that clear, Deepika? Is that okay?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you all so much for joining in.